I'm curious, has anyone ever thought about making a transfer portal Hall of Fame? The best transfer portal guys of all time. Sion James has a case to be a part of that.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Thursday, May 8th, 2025, as Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics, and we talk a whole lot about Duke men's basketball this time of year as we are getting set for an unbelievable basketball season here coming up for the Blue Devils. But before we get to a new season, we got to continue to recap what went down this past year. As we've got our season review series continuing here today, we're going to talk a whole lot about our buddy Sion James, as I'll have Josh Smith from the Devil's Den podcast with me on the program today. It's going to be a really fun show. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also ask that you go ahead and like our show on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like each and every one of these videos. Give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let's keep engaging with one another. We've got polls being put up each day about these players that we're reviewing their seasons for, and it's going to be a series that goes over the next couple of weeks. So thanks for being along here with us on the program today. We're on X at LO_Blue Devils, also available to be found on Instagram and TikTok. So go show us some love over there. Here he is, Josh Smith, with us on the program today, talking all things Duke basketball. It is wonderful to see you once again, my friend. I hope you're doing well as we're a few days into May here.
Yeah, I mean, enjoying the off season, right? I wish it would have went a little bit longer, but hey, here we are. So I appreciate you.
We got about as close as you can without getting to the finish line, man. Just a couple of minutes away from getting the job done there in the Final Four. And then, the 20 or 40 minutes, would have separated Duke from being the national champions. It stings. I don't know that that's necessarily ever going to change. But what I'm personally noticing, Josh, is that the further away from the season I'm getting, it is true. I'm more appreciative of what we were able to witness this year.
100%, man. I mean, it's still at the point, it's one of those rare years where usually I immediately switch to like looking forward to the new season, the new players. And this one's like, I just kind of want to run it back one more time. I just want one more shot at this thing. And it's the way it goes.
All right. So what we want to do, we want to continue our season review series for the Duke basketball team. Talked a little bit about Tyrese Proctor a couple of days ago and how great he was for Duke throughout the course of his career, and in particular his junior season that he just wrapped up. I want to talk about Sion James today. If Sion James is not your favorite when it comes to Duke basketball players, this isn't the show for you. But I know that's not going to be the case because so many people in the Duke world have a big heart for Sion James and what he was able to do this season for the Blue Devils, Josh.
For sure. I mean, off the court speaks for itself, right? Yeah. I mean, humanitarian. I mean, just a great person from all accounts. But, he enters, you previewed the show with, he enters a tier with Seth Curry, Rodney Hood, Rashawn McLeod. I mean, those type of guys. He's up there with some of the 3, 4, 5 best transfers we've ever had at Duke.
Incredible run for Sion James. And yeah, if you're making a Hall of Fame for transfer portal pieces in college basketball, Sion James has got a case to be there for a Duke basketball team that had a loaded, talented freshman class, only a few pieces returning from the previous year's squad. Sion James comes in from Tulane and instantly finds a way to make an impact for this team. He brought it each and every night on the defensive end of the floor. His playmaking ability was always spot on when it needed to be. He rebounded the ball so well for his size. This was a guy that whatever you asked him to do, Josh, he was going to step up and get the job done.
And a guy that really, came in and we didn't really know a ton about him, right? I don't think many people thought he was going to start, much less start 32 games. And if you don't have Sion, and this is no knock to Caleb Foster, but he had a bad year, right? Yeah. Didn't work out for him at the level that he wanted to. If Sion's not there, there's no San Antonio, folks.
It's a totally different story. You're exactly right. I mean, for Sion James to be playing the way he did for the Blue Devils was absolutely impactful. As you look at what he was able to do, we'll start to put some numbers up here on the screen for our viewers to take in and appreciate the year that Sion James had. 8.6 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game are those totals there. He's playing about 25 minutes a night for the Blue Devils. You mentioned it, played in all 39 games, started 32 of them. Looking at the numbers specifically, what is it that jumps out to you about Sion?
I don't even know if the numbers really can do it for you, to be honest. I think when I think of like a Swiss Army knife, it's Sion James, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever you needed him to do, you need him to go get you 8 or 9 rebounds, he can do that. You need him to get you 6 assists, no turnovers, he can do that. You need him to score 15, he can. You need him to score 2, he can. Just impacts winning. And when you really dig into the efficiency numbers, I mean, his offensive rating is just off the chart. I mean, it's number 2 in the conference. It's top 50 across nationally, which is just pretty absurd to come from Tulane. No, not Tulane, but from Tulane to Duke and to still hold up at that level. It's just incredible, man.
What does that say about him? Like, we're throwing out some big numbers to people there, but to be number 2 in offensive rating, I mean, what does it take to establish that level of dominance on the court?
It's a credit to him. It's also, I think, a big credit to John Shire, Coach John Shire. I mean, I don't think Sion took a mid-range jumper all year. I mean, he maybe like I'm trying to go back in my head. I mean,
I
everything
can't
he
really think
did,
of one. Yeah,
it's at the rim or catch and shoot wide open 3, typically from the
a
corner.
lot
I
of
mean,
corner. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, just smart kid, smart guy, and just took great shots.
not afraid to put the ball up at the rim, like you said, though, because I am instantly thinking of catch and shoot corner 3-pointers. And then the other thing I'm finishing are hard drives
Yep.
to the lane or cuts to the
Yep.
lane, specifically receiving the basketball and going up through contact no matter what, not afraid to throw that thing down.
Yeah, for sure, man. And throughout the year, you saw, I mean, John talked about it, 2 feet, playing off 2 feet. Sion, he gets in there, and I mean, ask Alabama, right? I mean, he's just too big.
Yeah, big time performance for Sion throughout the course of the year. Some of the numbers, like we said, he was able to do a little bit of everything, whether it be scoring or rebounding the basketball, assisting as well. The counting stats, though, aren't necessarily the greatest.
Sure.
For the defensive metrics there, that goes for just the sport as a whole. You're not often going to see these just eye-popping defensive numbers unless you're named somebody like Cooper Flagg. But what did you make of Sion James' impact defensively this season?
It's, when you look back on it, it's, obviously as someone who covers it as well, it's like, I don't know if I talked about it enough.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know
right.
if nationally, if it really gets talked about enough, but you look at what he does. And I think, not to keep quoting Coach, but I think he like compared him to like a Drew Holiday. And that's really perfect for me, of just a glue guy that comes in there. He can guard the best player on the perimeter. He can really guard 1 through 5. I mean, he played that matchup zone in Tulane. And just seamless, man. Just a guy, anywhere you want to put him, he can play. Just a kid that can play, man.
Super smart basketball player for the Duke Blue Devils, and certainly fired up that Sion James was on our side of things. I wouldn't want to think about him wearing another uniform. I'm glad it was that Duke jersey that he had on throughout the course of the year. All right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll take our first break here on today's show. On the other side, let's talk a little bit more about the impact that Sion had this season. What were the big games that stand out from his year? And then what's next for Sion James? What are those steps? All of that coming up here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Amazon. We got to talk about the Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it is all on your Fire TV. It's the latest technology for elevated playing. Endless entertainment is one of the things I absolutely love. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. Let me say that number again. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes. It's insane. Absolutely love it. Go ahead and head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. It is Amazon Fire TV, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, we keep this thing going. I've got Josh Smith here with me from the Devil's Den podcast. We're talking about Sion James and the year that he had for this Duke basketball team. I mentioned the numbers that he was able to average throughout the course of the season, highs and lows across the year. When you look at those best games or the moments that you think of for Sion James, what is it that you think about, Josh?
I think the two big, well, I guess there's three big ones for me. Well, I guess we'll go in the order that they happen. With probably
go
the
for it.
Carolina game. Carolina game was absolutely huge. The game at Carolina was absolutely huge.
We got three of those to choose from.
Yeah. At Carolina was big. I guess really they're all going to kind of be late in the season. At Carolina, Louisville in the ACC tournament championship. I think Kahn and Proctor were so good, but so was Sion, man. He was incredible there. And then you got to throw in that Sweet 16 game against Arizona. Back and forth game. Duke gets up big and then almost kind of blows it a little bit. Like it got a little kind of, threatening there. And Sion was just steady throughout. I think he had 16, 3, 4 in that game. I mean, just steady. Those are the three I think that really pop in terms of like an offensive production.
That's what I go for as well. When you look at his numbers offensively, the 16-point outings that he had, 15 in the title game, 7 of 7 from the free throw line in that game against. I mean, he made an impact in many ways, and scoring the basketball was one of those things where you really felt it because, again, some of the impact that he has is not necessarily going to total up on a stat sheet. But when you do get those type performances, that's really impressive. What about sharing the basketball, him setting up teammates and that sort of thing when you kind of go back through, or any big passes or plays or sequences that you think of with it? Because, again, he slid in to the starting lineup to replace Caleb Foster. Duke needed him to be able to share the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot. I think some of the better ones, though, of like when you had those lineups with him and Malik Brown on the floor, and like that combination. There's that one play where like 7 different people touched it, and it was like, who's going to shoot it, me or you? That's the epitome, I think, to Sion. Not a lot of flashy stuff, but always seems to be in the right place. Understood the assignment, made the right reads. I mean, some of those flare cuts, some of the stuff that Coop's doing, he's just always there. He's always there. I mean, he had 3 or 4 games with 7 or more assists, a few with 8. I mean, it's big time, man.
Yeah, and able to rebound well for his size, given his frame and his strength. That was notable. It was easy to be making an impact on the defensive end of the floor and in the big time games for Sion James because of his sure size and just the strength that he had.
Yeah. And, a lot of these games, I mean, Duke, almost led the league or the country in points margin, right? So some of these are 20, 30-point games. You don't really go back and recognize it. But when you chop up the film, I mean, like an NBA team is going to be lucky to get this kid.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Those are the next steps that we want to highlight for Sion James. The big news for him is that he received an invite to the NBA Draft Combine, right? I mean, there are 60 spots in an NBA draft each and every year. Only 75 people even receive a combine invite. That's always telling when players want to go to the NBA. But, man, if you can't even get a combine invite and then maybe you're having to go to something like the G League combine instead, that's telling as to where teams see you on their radar. That's not the case for Sion James. He will be in Chicago at the NBA combine.
Yeah, I think he's one of 7 Duke guys if you're counting Cedric Coward, right? Like, there's a lot of guys there, but he's going to be one of those, man. And it would not surprise me if he's early to mid second round. I think the age is always going to be there, so that's going to be a thing. But there's nothing off the court that you have to worry about. He's going to be a great teammate. And then you have teams that are looking to win. I'm looking at a team like Orlando, a team like Boston, OKC, Denver. I mean, him playing off of Jokic is just a dream, right? Or like, I mean, there's so many spots where you know what you're going to get. He's probably going to come off the bench, a little bit of 3 and D, can be a backup point guard if you need to, guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5, maybe. I'd be surprised if he goes undrafted, to be honest with you.
And we've talked about the sales pitch that's made to transfers when you think about joining a program like Duke, who each and every year is going to recruit the top talent in the entire country. It's the #1 recruiting class, feels like, every single season. So many guys bound to be at the top of the NBA draft. This is amazing what Sion James was able to do in terms of the message to future players that decide to come over. Because as we look at these next steps for Sion James, no disrespect to what he was able to do over 4 years at Tulane, we're not having the same conversation a year ago or in all likelihood, if he would have played somewhere else. I don't know necessarily that we're having the same conversation about him when it comes to evaluating him as a draft prospect.
I mean, to me, I'm not a GM or an NBA scout, but the best way to be able to evaluate these guys is what do they look like playing with and against pros?
Right.
Well, at Duke, you're playing with 4 or 5 pros in your starting lineup, and you're playing against a lot of other guys in the league or just nationally. So you get a feel for like, hey, how might he look in an NBA team against NBA competition? Held up pretty good to me.
Yeah, you mentioned some names earlier about guys that came over to Duke from the transfer portal. I made the point that the portal is kind of the verbiage that we've used over the last couple of years here before, or is when you had to sit out a year before you make an impact. But I want to include all those guys in this type scenario. When you look at players who started their college basketball journeys elsewhere and then winded up in Durham, putting Duke across their chest, where is it that a player like Sion James fits into that discussion? I mean, who are those other top guys that come to mind?
To me, it is. I think he's going to be in my top 5, and to me, I got to go McLeod, Seth Curry's in there, Dante Jones has got to be in there, Rodney Hood. I know that 2014 team didn't pan out, but he was really good,
So
man.
good,
He was
yeah.
really good. And then it's Sion.
Yeah.
For me, man, he's there. He's in that mold, and it's very rare to get that, especially at Duke in the portal, because we really haven't went after a guy like a Seth Curry or a Rodney Hood to come in and play that type of role. I don't know how much you're going to see another guy like that come in and elevate the team that much.
Right, for sure. Because to your point, a lot of the transfers that we've had are just kind of the front court depth pieces. I mean, we've got one already this week.
Right.
And practice type players. Here we are with Sion James, a starter for 32 games out of the year who did not start his career at Duke. Yeah, he's got to be up. I mean, if we're looking at Mount Rushmore, you put 4 people up, he might be there.
He might be.
Look at the all-time impactful transfers for Duke.
Yeah, he might be. I mean, I think you can definitely make a case if I'm making a starting 5, he's starting. I'll go that far. If you go 4, it gets tough, but he's in my starting 5.
Yeah, no, those are some good transfers back down the line. I'm excited to talk about other potential transfers in the days and weeks to come. Hopefully, we could be having a similar discussion like Cedric Coward a year from now, Josh, right? Like another guy who's on draft radars right now, still remains to be seen whether or not he will officially play in Durham. And there is, it's fair to have a level of pessimism or doubt that maybe this won't happen at the end of the day. What I feel good about, though, is that if he does come play at Duke, the exposure greatly increases. And I think the chances of climbing the draft boards also does as well for him.
I think, and I said it on our podcast last week of, if, again, I'm not a GM or a scout, but one of the things I'd be looking at is like, okay, this kid clearly belongs at the combine in this conversation. He was hurt last year. He just committed to Duke. If I'm a GM, I'm like, go show me what you can do at Duke. Like, if you can do it here, we're not talking about a late first. We're talking lottery type, like you could get in that conversation or at least avoid the second round altogether. And, if he gets that security in the first round, you got to take it. You got to go for it, man. As a D3 player, I'll drive you.
Yeah.
But if not, you're getting a stud. I mean, you're getting a first round caliber guy on the wing.
Let's see if Cedric Coward follows our, come play for Duke. We want it to happen. We want to see what that looks like. All right, we'll step aside. We'll take one more break here on today's show. On the other side, Josh is here. There have been some comments made about this non-conference schedule that Duke is starting to put together. Let's talk about that when we return. Yes, Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you could be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. We've seen some epic games between the Celtics and the Knicks already. Coming up this weekend, we're going to see it for the first time in Madison Square Garden. The Celtics at the Knicks. The best place to find tickets for that one is over at Game Time, where it's easy and fast to get those tickets, even when demand is sky high like it's going to be for this one. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Go ahead and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDON, COLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're going to keep this thing going. We're talking about Duke basketball with Josh Smith from the Devil's Den podcast, talking about a non-conference schedule that's started to be put together for the Duke basketball team. We'll get to the upcoming schedule here in just a moment, but a quick thought from you, Josh. What did you make ultimately of the season that just concluded and the tests that Duke had throughout the year in non-conference play?
I think we're going to get into it here in a minute too, but obviously coach isn't scared.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think he recognized that maybe the league wouldn't prepare us at the level that he wanted it to. And to just go out and do this, I mean, we never saw this we never saw it. We didn't see it in the last 10 or 15 years. Now, granted, the ACC was incredibly strong in the last 10 or 15 years. But we've missed this. I missed these type of big marquee type of matchups. We'll go to Arizona. You get in Arizona to come into Cameron. Texas can't. I mean, we're going to get into it, but like it's anywhere, anybody, anytime, and let's go.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited with how the schedule has come together. Also, people nationally are talking about Duke and what they're doing in the schedule model. When you talk about national basketball experts at the college level, John Rothstein from CBS Sports is one of those names that comes to mind. Here's what he had to say.
The second big thing I want to get to, and it's something that is in line with the first thing, we have to give Jon Scheyer credit for what he's doing with Duke's non-conference schedule. Now, Jon Scheyer was very aggressive when he first got the Duke job at scheduling marquee competition. He did a home-and-home series right out of the gate with Arizona. That was something that obviously brought a lot of sizzle to those college campuses. But now we're in a situation where Jon Scheyer continues to elevate things as Duke's head coach. Next season, this is what's already on the books for Duke outside of the ACC. You have one game in the ACC SEC Challenge. That game's going to be against one of the best teams, obviously, in the SEC. You're at Michigan State in a return game from the 2020 Champions Classic that was played at Cameron Indoor Stadium. You're playing Michigan in February in Washington, D.C., which is the site, obviously, for the East Regionals of the NCAA tournament. You're at Army on Veterans Day. You're also going to take on Kansas in the Champions Classic at Madison Square Garden. You have the Texas game I mentioned. And then on Thanksgiving night in Chicago on CBS, you're going against John Calipari in Arkansas. That is a monster schedule by Jon Scheyer and Duke to play the best of the best outside of the ACC. Now, part of it is the fact that the ACC has been meager the last couple of years, that the ACC has left a lot to be desired the last couple of years. But kudos to Jon Scheyer for playing the schedule outside of the ACC that he currently has on tap right now for 25-26. Just looking at things right now, Duke will probably play 6 or so games against top 35, top 30 level competition outside of the ACC. And even though Jon Scheyer is obviously the one now of the blue blood programs that's setting the table for these power conference programs that are blue blood level to play elite competition.
That's John Rothstein from CBS Sports talking about our head coach, Jon Scheyer, and the schedule that he's starting to put together. And I love it, man. Josh, anytime we have these discussions, when the Duke head coach is the one that's kind of leading the charge and leading the change, and we've seen the news recently about going from 20 games to 18 in ACC play. Good on Duke, man, for putting a schedule like this together. What stood out to you?
First, shouts to Rothstein for acknowledging it. I know GP, Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander have also kind of talked about that we need these type of matchups. I mean, when you just look at that graphic, and I don't even think that has the SEC challenge. Please give us Tennessee. Like you're looking at like not just 6 top 35, you're probably looking at 4 or 5 like top 10, 15 level matchups here, which is just incredible. I think for the fans, it's really good. For us, for preparing, it's really good. I'm just excited for it. Like you get into these type of games and it's a good test because even if you lose, like we saw last year, Duke's was like 4-2 to start the year, 3-2 to start the year. And everyone's kind of like, oh, like is Cooper Flag good? Like, what are we going to do? And then you finish the season with 4. Like, I mean, you need these type of measuring sticks early, and I'm just here for it.
As it stands right now, the first game of the season is set to be Texas in Charlotte, right?
I'll be there. Yep.
You just kind of look at the scenario, Josh, like 0-1 is a possibility. It's crazy. Like, what, that just never happens with Duke basketball, but you're testing yourself to where, hopefully that doesn't happen. And then the reactions come in after the fact and that sort of thing. But right out of the gates, you start to get a feel for what your team can be, and then building it throughout the course of the entire season, because still in February, you've got another test like Duke had with Illinois this year. How about that game that they've got against Michigan on the upcoming year's schedule?
Yeah, that's a big one, man. And, the return of Elliot Cadeau, too.
Yeah.
I don't think that goes unnoticed there a little bit, but you get another shot there. You look up and down. I mean, that Chicago Thanksgiving against Arkansas is like, I'm penciling that. I'll probably more than likely be at that Texas game in Charlotte. Just a lot of good games. You saw Michigan State on there. I mean, you're going to get a battle, and you got the boozers coming in, you got the big class, and so you got the roster to deal with it. I think for fans, you just have to have a little bit of, like, if you are 4-2, perspective of what that really even means. I mean, if you're playing 2 Final Four caliber teams in November, then sure, you can be 4-2, right?
Right. It's going to work out at the end of the day. It's a long season that you got to go through and that sort of thing. So with this Duke team and the schedule that they've got in front of them, we'll still have bye games as well inside Cameron Indoor. Those are important to have. It's knowing that you're going to win a game and be able to see the highlights that can come to that and practice chemistry and all those things that go into a competition like that. But the one big elephant left, at least, unless there's another surprise curveball from Jon Scheyer, which I would not be surprised at all. Like, I'd love to see another kind of long-term home-and-home series signed and planned for the Duke basketball squad. There's going to be the looming SEC and ACC challenge. What we know is that it's not going to be Arkansas, because the Blue Devils are playing them in Chicago this season. It's not going to be Texas, because Duke is playing them to open up the year. But then from there, you mentioned Tennessee. There are so many other intriguing options as well that it could be for Duke. Florida just won the national championship. Yeah. Alabama would be an Elite Eight rematch for the Blue Devils. Auburn and Duke turned in an unbelievable game inside Cameron Indoor. Neville Arena is one of the toughest atmospheres in the sport. Is there a possible return trip for Duke there down to the Plains to take on Auburn? I mean, there are so many different. Kentucky, Duke has never played.
Let's go to Rupp. Let's go to Rupp. Yep.
Kentucky has never played inside Cameron Indoor. Is this the time that those things start to change?
Yeah, that would be amazing to go to Rupp to play those guys. I mentioned Tennessee, the Native Mint things there. Obviously, we still remember the second round a little bit. One thing I didn't even really give it as much credit here, JJ, is shouts for going to Army, for playing at Army on Veterans Day. Like, that's big time. We host them a lot. I know we did that last year, but to go there and do that
hasn't been done since 1997. Long time.
Tip of the cap.
Yeah.
Tip of the cap for that. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fun to kind of talk about the year that Sion James had so far for the Blue Devils, what he meant to the program, and then also being able to take a peek at the schedule this next year. Josh, always appreciate your thoughts, insight, and analysis. We had your co-host Dustin Chu on the program yesterday. Give us the 411 about everything that you guys have going on and how people can support you guys.
Yeah, man, well, I appreciate it. I'm always happy to come on here. So obviously you can follow us, the Devil's Den Pod. You can find us on X/Twitter at Devil's Den Pod 247. Anywhere you subscribe, Spotify, Apple, Google, all of that stuff. If you want the inside scoop on recruiting, if you're more into that type of stuff, we have message boards at thedevilsden.com. Adam and John do a great job over there following all the recruiting, transfer portal, whatnot. In terms of us, next up, we're going to have Dan Favale from Hardwood Knocks to come on, and we're going to do a little bit of NBA talk. So If you follow our guys in the league, check us out next week for that. And then hopefully we're looking to get Jon Scheyer on for round 3. So, we're in the air, but, hopefully we'll get him on.
That's exciting. Hey, Josh, really appreciate the time. We'll do it again soon. Okay.
Thanks, brother. Take care, JJ.
All right. That's Josh Smith joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always appreciate his time. Go check out the Devil's Den podcast and support what those guys have going on. Continue to support us here at Locked On Blue Devils. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video, share it with your friends. Also subscribe to our podcast feed on X at LO_Blue Devils and on Instagram and TikTok as well. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.